Yeah, go for it.
Um, I know that like in terms of recent developments, we've learned that some dinosaurs have had feathers, but I don't know. I just can never get over that notion that like they look like that. I just feel like the gigantic creatures, the gigantic lizards, just far more. Even if it's fantastical to some degree, are just aesthetically far more pleasing.
Well, I mean, you're gonna see like
You feel
it's
like
not every
too
dinosaur.
also. Yeah, organic. Do you feel also that like Jurassic Park had a large role to play in that with like, the depiction of dinosaurs to like modern people? Or have we always had like this depiction, if you will, of like, this is what Tyrannosaurus Rex looks like. But was that only for like, a certain field? Like the layman
Well,
didn't really think of what's a T-Rex, you know what I mean?
yeah, the layman didn't really get it, and it's funny is that we've kind of came back to where we originally were, because initially people thought of them as being giant birds, and like Nazca and he was a Hungarian, um, thought about these guys, like the dinosaurs and stuff as birds, and then they got a plotting appearance and looked more like reptilian, and that was. But we came back to that. Now, one thing to say is they weren't. Every one of them wasn't always covered with with feathers at every stage in their life. Smaller ones are going to be feathered, for most of their life or all of their life, for what it appears to be. But like big guys like sauropods and stuff are going to be they're not going to be. They're going to only maybe have a little bit of feathers when they're young, because it doesn't appear that they have feathers in the fossils that we found. That stuff probably was shed because they're too big and just not really needed, because you're not going to keep a big feathery appearance, because that's a lot of work and a lot of energy. I mean, maybe, but now dinosaurs, they are super cool and interesting as social creatures, just like anything now, and like birds is live in a wild ecosystem where things aren't exactly the same as they are now. They're pretty close, but you've got lots of predators, lots of prey, lots of critters moving around, and one like preconceived notion that we have now is like how few predators we see today as opposed to what used to be, and with more animals, like I look at the ecosystem and go, wow, look at what it's all missing, because there used to be so many more critters running around, and for all our lives that we've missed that. We don't see any of that, and like especially back in the dinosaur time, in Mesozoic and before, there's critters all over the place, and they're super wild and energetic things. If you, I don't know if you've seen all the feathered stuff that came out of China, because they find these really
No,
good, well
not
preserved
exactly.
stuff. They look like birds, really. If
Yes.
it's amazing. It's hard to tell the primitive birds from the advanced theropods and stuff. Because all like feathers are a basic condition of dinosaurs, and they kind of that comes with the territory. Both birds and dinosaurs had them. It's only certain developments that make them into birds, but they come ready. They're almost like prepackaged with all the stuff to be birds, and it's pretty wild. Because lots of early birds had teeth, and we lose that, and when the asteroid impact happens, because you only get the smaller birds that didn't have teeth, and like you had these big birds that look like kind of like, what do you call those things, loons, in the ocean that had teeth, bigger than penguins and stuff, these and giant things, big teeth. It's pretty scary, and they're awesome critters. Super love
I
that.
got another question for you
Go
along
for it.
about that as well. Um, how come there's some species that I know they talk about, have rapid evolution and change throughout their time and being here, but others simply don't quote unquote evolve at all? Like the horseshoe crab, for example, or the alligator, how they look almost like they're not from this planet. They just been around for so long they don't change. But there's other species that has changed drastically. Do you know the reason for why some species have drastic changes and others do not? Or could you elaborate on that?
I give you my best interpretation. Some things are just perfect for their environment. Now, it's not to say they don't change. I mean, like horseshoe crabs are pretty much the same as they've been forever, because they're just kind of perfectly suited for that niche, and that works well. Alligators, they do change a little bit, and there's some variations, but to the common appearance, they would look exactly the same. But you'll get slightly a different arrangement, with like, sizes, or, how the nerves move in the head a little bit, or just little body proportions. And we can pick out different species, sometimes different genera, but it's a well suited design, because a lot of things look exactly like alligators, because that's pretty much perfect for that environment, because that goes all the way back to like the Permian and before, because we have amphibians that look exactly like alligators, and then we don't get alligators until alligator like things, mammals, not mammals, I'm sorry, reptiles or archosaurs, which are related to dinosaurs, because alligators have a different heart structure and are more related to dinosaurs than they are reptiles. But they come about in the Triassic, and there's lots of critters that look like alligators then, because it's just the optimum shape for the environment, even though
Yeah,
they're not all related at all. Everything kind of meets that form.
Yeah, I noticed something about evolution too. I usually think of it in three different ways. Typically, it's about food source. How effective is the genetic mutation and the way they have, um, and what would there be a necessity to alter it in any capacity, or evolve in a way that is far better applicable to the environment there. And the last one is, I believe, if I did not bring this up earlier, usually dietary. Like, can an animal, some of the most largest animals that ever existed were during the um, this time period. But as things started to die off, the cryogenic stasis that like the planet was in, the lack of sunlight, the inability to feed herbivores, eventually larger predators would just die or have to like become something entirely different to sustain themselves, because what they would usually just doesn't exist anymore. So like
Yeah, you kind of get yourself into a trap
like
there. Like, if you're a big predator, you can only feed on bigger things, because